You ever send money and just wonder why it takes 3 whole days to show up in a world that's supposed to be digital? Yeah, we're told everything's instant, but we all know that's not quite the reality. Well, it turns out that 3 day wait, that old relic of a bygone financial system, is finally on its way out. So let's dive in. We're going to break down how a really powerful combo of new global banking rules and some super clever technology is making true, final, instant settlement a reality.
Right, let's just start with the question that I think drives everybody a little bit crazy. You tap your phone, you get that satisfying payment sent notification, but where does the money actually go for the next 72 hours? What is really happening behind the curtain? Well, here's the secret. The delay isn't a tech problem, it's a trust problem. The entire old system is built on this 3-day risk buffer. It's a waiting period where banks are basically asking a bunch of questions. Is this money legit? Will the funds actually be there when we go to collect? This clawback period is their safety net, to reverse sketchy transfers. But it means everyone else's money gets stuck in limbo. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through the 5 key parts of this whole revolution. We'll start with the new rulebook that's changing the game. Then we'll look at the gold standard assets that fit these new rules. We'll explore the tech that creates undeniable trust, see how it all clicks together for instant settlement, and finally get into why this changes, well, pretty much everything. First up, the new rulebook. And look, this isn't just some minor update. This is a massive global regulatory shift. It's the finale of the Basel III framework. A lot of people in the industry are calling it Basel IV, and it is totally redefining how banks have to measure and handle risk. The key thing to get here is that this is about forcing banks to be brutally honest about the risks on their books. It scraps their old, complicated internal models and puts in standardized measurements. It puts everything, especially new things like crypto, under a global magnifying glass. No more hiding. And this standardization led to a huge moment. Regulators drew a very, very clear line in the sand for digital assets. On one side, you've got Group 2 assets. That's your unbacked, speculative crypto. On the other side, you have Group 1A assets. These are tokenized versions of real-world things like cash or bonds with verifiable one-to-one backing. One is treated as toxic waste, and the other is treated like gold. And when I say toxic, I mean it. For those Group 2 assets, the risk weight is a mind-blowing 1,250%. This number is designed to hurt. It means for every single dollar of an unbacked crypto a bank holds, it has to hold a dollar of its own capital right beside it. It makes those assets absolutely radioactive to a bank's balance sheet. Now, let's contrast that with the good stuff. Banks are required by law to hold a certain amount of what's called high-quality liquid assets, or HQLA. Think of it as their 30-day emergency fund to survive a bank run. And here's the revolutionary part. These new Group 1A digital assets can be treated just like cash or government bonds in this framework. That makes them incredibly valuable for banks to hold. Okay, so if these new digital assets are the regulatory gold standard, what exactly are they? What makes the cut? Well, they are pretty much what you'd expect. Digital versions of boringly stable traditional assets. We're talking about a US Treasury bill, but as a token. Or a stablecoin like USDC that's fully backed by cash. It can even be a token that represents physical gold in a vault or a property deed, as long as that one-to-one backing is legally and technologically proven, sometimes even with a notary seal embedded right into the code. All right, so we've got the new rules, and we have the regulator-approved assets. The next question is, how does technology actually use all this? And that's where this new trust infrastructure comes in. It's built on a really brilliant idea. You separate the movement of value from the proof of trust. And this quote just nails the core problem perfectly. The money exists, the asset exists. The transaction doesn't happen instantly because the proof that everything is legit is scattered all over the place in different systems that just don't talk to each other. This new infrastructure solves that by bringing all the proof together. So here's a look at how it works. Think of it as a 2-part system. The first part, called App Pro, is like the clean, simple app on your phone. It's the front door, the execution layer that records the who, what, and where of any deal. The second part, Secure Bank Box, is the secure digital vault. Now, it doesn't hold the money, it holds the proof, the legal receipts, the transaction hashes, all the digital fingerprints that prove the transaction is real. And the key thing that comes out of this system is something called a tokenized trust receipt, or TTR. Now, it's super important to get this. A TTR is not money. It's not an asset. It is a digital receipt. It is cryptographic proof that a lawful settlement has already happened. Think of it like a standardized, verifiable package of trust that any computer system can read and accept instantly. This is the one-liner you gotta remember. The system isn't making new money. It's taking the whole messy, scattered world of legal proof and putting it into one clean, digital, verifiable token. That is the key that unlocks absolutely everything else. Okay, so let's put it all together. Let's see the payoff in the real world. We're going to walk through a big, high-value business transaction, something like a company buying a new corporate vehicle. So the company starts the payment on the simple app. But here's the magic. The system instantly generates and sends the car dealership's bank a special proof of funds document. This document, the TTR we were just talking about, cryptographically proves that the payment is a top-tier, low-risk Group 1A asset. The receiving bank's computer doesn't see some mysterious transfer. It sees the digital equivalent of cash. And just like that, poof, the fraud risk and liquidity risk are gone. The 3-day hold is no longer needed. The settlement is atomic and irrevocable, meaning it's final, settled instantly, and can never be reversed. Done. So, you might be thinking, okay, that's fast, but why does solving settlement risk at this level actually change everything? Well, because it's about so much more than just getting your money a little bit faster. For banks, this is an absolute game changer. It frees up billions in capital that used to be just sitting there, held against risk. Now it can be used for lending. For businesses, it means true real-time cash flow. No more waiting 3 days for a huge payment to clear. And for the entire financial system, it creates a whole new set of rails, a trust-first infrastructure, where the proof of value moves just as fast as the value itself, whether that value is a dollar, a bond, or a bar of gold. And that leaves us with one final, really fascinating question to think about. For decades, the entire world of finance has been built around managing and pricing settlement risk. If that fundamental problem is now solved with verifiable programmable trust, what does that unlock? What new kinds of financial services become possible in a world where final settlement is truly and provably instant?